Hello students, welcome to CBSE program. So in this session we are going to learn about some more questions, concept based questions about muscular tissue, and we are going to learn about nervous tissue questions. So here we are going to discuss about worksheet. Okay, so concept building course worksheet. So with the very first question over here, a session recent question. So this is about nervous tissue. So the question: assertion, neurons are said to possess the property of excitability, and the reason over here, neurons can get excited by a given stimulus. So let us break down the statements. So this is the statement 1 and this is statement 2. Okay, so these are two statements. Now we are going to understand each statement very clearly. Neurons are said to possess the property of excitability. Yes, they have property of excitability. Why they have property of excitability? Because they conduct impulse from dendrites to cell body to axon, axon to axon terminals, then again to another neuron by the junction that is called as synapse. So during this impulse transfer, what happens? The exchange of sodium and potassium ions takes place throughout the membrane of the neuron. Okay, so they have to reach certain threshold so that they can conduct the impulse to the brain, and from brain the response is coming towards the glands or muscular tissue. So that is called as motor response. So assertion, yes, they have the property of excitability. Okay, so this is a true statement. Neuron get excited by a given stimulus. As I have told you, the stimulus can be from various sense organs. We have 5 sense organs that we have discussed: eyes, ears, okay, and nose for smelling, and tongue for taste, and touch, that is skin. Okay, so these 5 sense organs, what they do, they receive the stimulus. Okay, if you can touch your arm, what happens? The touch, about touch, it is the stimulus is reaching to the brain, right? So a minimum threshold is required to transfer the stimulus to the brain, right? Okay, so the both assertion and reasons are true, and reason is a correct explanation. So our options, we have already attempted assertion reason questions in our previous worksheets, so you must be knowing how to give a correct answer for this. Choose the right option. Both the assertion reason are true, the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Yes, this is a true statement, this is a true statement, and this statement is giving explanation. Reason is giving explanation for the assertion, right? So the answer is going to be the 1. Okay, both assertion reason are true, but the reason is not correct explanation is a wrong statement. Assertion is true and reason is false is also not that is required, and both assertion reason is false, that is also not required. So this is the correct answer. Now moving forward to the next question, question number 2. The myelin sheath is present in which tissue? Myelin sheath is secreted by Schwann cells, and the Schwann cells and myelin sheath are present in nerve cells. Myelin sheath is generally present on the axon that we have discussed. So this is a neuron, okay, neuron with dendrites. Okay, I am preparing a rough picture, okay, and axon terminals that we have learned, right? Now throughout the axon, this axon is very well protected by a sheath, okay, which is not continuous. This sheath is not continuous. Okay, this myelin sheath is formed by Schwann cells. We have discussed in our theory class, in concept class. So Schwann cells are the one which prepare or which make myelin sheath. This myelin sheath is white in color. They give nerve cells white appearance. Okay, and wherever the covering is absent on the axon, these are called as nodes of Ranvier. And what is the function of the myelin sheath? Myelin sheath prevents the leakage. So here it prevents the leakage of the impulse. Prevents leakage of impulse. So Schwann cells which make the myelin sheath, these myelin sheaths are whitish in color and which prevents the leakage of impulse or electrons or sodium or potassium. So this is very important, and this myelin sheath is specifically present in nerve cells, that is forming neurons, that is nerve cells are called as neurons, and these neurons are forming nervous tissue. Okay, so nervous tissue is present in central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system. So did you understand what is myelin sheath? Myelin sheath is formed from Schwann cells. Okay, these are present on the axon, and wherever the myelin sheath is not completely present, these spaces are called as nodes of Ranvier. Okay, now coming to the next question. Question number 3. Consider the following: assertion and reason. So intercalated disc are important region of cardiac muscle cells. So this is assertion. Intercalated disc are important region of cardiac muscle cells. Yes, it is present. If you see, the cardiac muscles were branched. Okay, were branched. These branches were seen, right? So this branches was called as intercalated. And what is the role of this intercalated disc? A faster transfer of impulse throughout the muscle cell. So if this muscle is getting a threshold or getting a stimulus, what happens? Stimulus of contraction. What happens? This signals are transferred to the other muscle and other muscles very fast because of intercalated disc that is present. And why it is required? For uniform contraction of all cardiac muscle cells. Uniform contraction of all muscle cells. That is the reason they are connected to each other through intercalated disc. So this statement is true. Then this is the first statement, assertion. Now let us read the second statement, reason. Intercalated disc function as communication junction for muscle contraction waves. So intercalated disc are regions that are present in the muscle cells. Yes, cardiac cells, cardiac muscle cells. That is true. This is a statement is true, and as I have just explained, these are transferring the impulse to next adjacent cells, right? So that all the muscles can contract at the same time. Just now I have explained this statement also, which is a true. So here the assertion is also true and the reason is also true. And what is the function? That is intercalated disc. And here the function of intercalated disc has been explained. So what is the option? Option 1, both assertion and reason are true, and the reason is the correct explanation for the assertion. Or second, both assertion and reason are true, but the reason is not correct explanation, or assertion is true but reason is false, or both the assertion and reasons are false. As I have explained assertion and reason, and we have learned about the reason in a detailed process with the diagram, you can guess the answer very easily, right? Yeah, the answer is 1. Both assertion and reason are true, and intercalated disc, what it does do? It is the communication junction between cardiac muscles. It is forming a adhere or desmosome like connection or gap junction between cardiac muscles, so that impulse can transfer to the next adjacent muscle very fast or easily. Okay, now coming to the next question, that is fourth question. Which option is correct for smooth muscles? Smooth muscles, they are not branched. The characteristic features, let us note the characteristic features of the smooth muscles. Whenever you get these kind of questions, you just have to recall, right? What is the property of smooth muscles? That they are involuntary in action, which means they are not under our control. This type of muscle is called as smooth muscle, right? Now involuntary function is present in the smooth muscle. And what are the characteristic features of the smooth muscles? They are spindle shaped cells or fusiform shaped cells, which means tapering ends. The ends of the muscles are tapering, and the center consists of nucleus as well as the broader part. Okay, so this is spindle shaped cells. Again, what else? They are unbranched. If you see, these tissue or these cells are unbranched, close to each other, covered in protective connective tissue sheath. So they are unbranched. So this is spindle fibers, unbranched. What else? Okay, they have striations, they don't have striations. Dark and light bands are absent. Light and dark bands are absent. What else? They are uninucleated, they have only single nucleus. Okay, so we have discussed certain points over here. Let me write in a better way so that you can understand. Smooth muscles. What are the properties of the smooth muscles? Again, repeat with me. They have involuntary function. Involuntary. What is the structure? Spindle shaped. You can also call this shape as fusiform. Okay, unbranched. They don't have branches like cardiac muscles. Okay, unbranched. What else? They have single nucleus, uninucleate. They don't have striations, light and dark bands are absent. So striation, which means striations are absent, unstriated. Okay, so these are the features. Let us find these features in the option. Okay, cylindrical. Again, the shape is spindle shape. The very first point over here is wrong, so you don't have to go with the first option. Spindle, unbranched, non-striated, mononucleated or uninucleated. You can also be mono, which means single, right? Uninucleated and involuntary. Yes, all the characteristic features are present. Involuntary, spindle, unbranched, uninucleated, striations are absent, non-striated. Okay, so here the answer is going to be the second one. So our answer is the smooth muscles are spindle, unbranched, non-striated, uninucleated and involuntary in function. Now coming to the next question, question number 5. Again an assertion reason. Assertion: neurons are said to possess the property of excitability, and we have discussed, this is a question, repetition of the question. Neurons can get excited by given stimulus. Yes, both assertion and reasons are true. The very first question we have discussed. So this is a similar in pattern. Now coming to the sixth question, which of the following contributes maximum part of our body weight? Epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, connective tissue or nervous tissue? So the maximum packing of the body structure is done by connective tissue. Okay, so the body weight is contributed by the connective tissue. Okay, epithelial tissue is present in the lining and muscles are present wherever the movement is required, right, because of muscular contraction and relaxation, whereas connective tissue is present throughout the body. So here the answer can be both, like muscular and connective actually. Okay, they form the maximum part of the body weight. Now coming to the neuralgia. These neuralgia we have discussed in the nervous tissue. These are the cells that are forming supportive framework to the neurons. Yes, we have neurons. Okay, various, the network of neurons is very large. Okay, these are dendri, these are axons. Okay, axon terminalization, then comes dendrites. This is the typical structure of a neuron, right? Cell body. Now these cells are supported, or nutrition is provided to these cells by neuroglial cells. Okay, so they protect neurons, they support neurons, they make up more than 1/2 volume of the neural tissue. Okay, so they are protecting, they are supporting, they are providing nutrition in some cases, so they are making more than 1/2 of the neural tissue. So we have neurons and supporting tissues, that neuroglial cells are also present. So option will be all of these. Now coming to nasal granules are present in which part of the neurons? Cyton, axon, synaptic knob or nerve endings. The nasal granules are present in cytoplasm. So we haven't discussed about this in the theory part. Now let me tell you. So this is the cell body. This consists of nucleus. They have small granules. These nasal granules are proteinaceous in nature and they are important for ATP formation. Why ATP is required? Because these cells also require energy, right? They require energy to perform functions. So these are the one which are responsible. These are micelle granules which are present in the cyton. Okay, cyton, which means cell body or cytoplasm. They are absent in the axon, they are only present in the cytoplasm. The nerve cells do not possess axon, nerve endings, dendrites or adhering junction. The nerve cell consists of axon, nerve endings are also present and dendrites are also present. What about adhering junction? These type of junctions are not seen in nerve cells. Which type of junctions are seen? Synaptic junctions. Synaptic junction, which means the axon ending consists with dendrite of the neuron. So this is the axon ending and this is the dendrite, or it consists of a muscle. So there is a space between these junctions, very little space, minute spaces are present. Okay, the chemicals or neurotransmitters are released in this space and they get attached to the dendroid membrane or muscular membrane and they start the impulse again. So this type of chemical transfer is seen in synapse. So synaptic junction is present, adhering junction is absent in the nerve cell. Adhering junctions are present in the epithelial tissue, not in the nerve cells. Okay, so answer is going to be the do not possess, which means adhering junction is absent. Now coming to the next point. Next question. The functional junction between the axon of one neuron and the dendrite of the next is called, as I have told you just now, the axon of one neuron and the dendrite of the next. If we see the nerve cells, okay, with dendrites, these are the branches. Dendron is branches, okay, and axons have terminals. So one neuron is connected to the other neuron. How? So this axon is connected to dendrites, okay, these are the dendroids which are forming junction. Okay, again they have axon terminals. So one neuron is connected to other neuron. How? The axon nerve ending of one nerve to the dendrite nerve ending. So this is axon part, axon terminal, and this part, let me highlight with a white, this part is the dendrite. Okay, so here the junction is formed. This type of junction is called as synaptic junction. Okay, this type of junction is called as synaptic junction, that is formed between two neurons. So the answer is going to be synapse. Okay, now going to the next question. So this is a homework question for you. So you must have practiced this exercise after completion of muscular tissue and neuron tissue, nervous tissue. Now this is the question number 1 which I am going to discuss over here. The muscular layer lining the stomach and intestine, that we have already discussed, right? The muscular lining in the stomach and intestine is of involuntary type, right? Involuntary, why? Because stomach and intestine have peristalsis. They do digestion, the absorption and release of some certain secretions, right? For this type of function, muscular layers should be involuntary in action, which means these type are smooth muscles. Smooth muscles are smooth in appearance. Why they are smooth in appearance? Because they don't have any kind of striations. Light and dark bands are absent. Tapering ends, okay, uninucleate, and they perform involuntary action. So striated in appearance is not the correct answer. Multinucleated is wrong. Characterized by intercalated disc. This is intercalated disc is seen specifically in only one type of muscular tissue, that is cardiac muscles. And smooth in appearance is the correct answer. Why? Because they are not having light and dark bands that is seen in cardiac muscles or in skeletal muscles, right? Now coming to the next question. Heart cells can connect a unit in the presence of multinucleate condition, intercalated disc and fusiform shape or striation. So again I'm going to tell, heart cells can contract as a unit. Why they have to contract as a unit? Because they cause pumping of the blood, right? The movement of the heart, if you have seen, it is does like this: contraction and relaxation, contraction and relaxation. When it contracts, blood moves to different body parts, or blood moves to the lungs for oxygenation. This is what happens when the heart contracts. When heart relaxes, the heart is filled with the blood that is coming from the lungs, or that is coming from the different body parts, right? This is the process that happens in the heart that we are going to learn in our coming chapters. So heart contraction results in the blood flow to the different body parts, or blood flow to the lungs. Heart relaxation, what happens? The blood enters the heart from different body parts and lungs. Contraction and relaxation. So the heart has to function as a unit. All the muscles have to undergo contraction process. All the muscles of the heart undergo relaxation process at the same time. This is very important. For pumping of blood, the heart has to contract and relax at the same time. Okay, so this is very important point that you have to remember. So how this contraction occurs? What is the structure that is causing the simultaneous contraction and simultaneous relaxation? So this is, if you see, as I have told you, heart is branches are present in the heart. Okay, so these branches, okay, these are connecting one heart okay. So the connective structures, I'm going to highlight those connective structures. What are they doing? If impulse is coming to this muscle, the impulse is transferred to this part. Then now the first muscle is under contraction, second muscle is also in contraction, and the impulse is traveling to the third muscles also. So third muscle is also in contraction. So 1, 2, 3, all the muscles are contracting because they are branched, they are interconnected to each other. They have intercalated discs which are connecting the impulse, which are transferring the impulse from one muscle to the other muscle to the other muscle. Now whole muscles of the heart or cardiac muscles will contract at the same time. Okay, it is not because of multinucleate condition, it is not because of fusiform shape. Fusiform shape is found in smooth muscles. Okay, striations, yes, although they have striations, light and dark bands are present. Okay, light and dark bands are present in this type of muscles, but these are not the reason that muscles are contracting as a unit. This is because of intercalated disc. This is a very important NEET question. Okay, so intercalated disc, because of intercalated disc, what happens? The muscles contract as a unit. Okay, now going to the next question. Muscular movements are intended to move the body to adjust to changes in the environment, maintain the position of various body parts, or 1 and 2, or nothing. Move the body to adjust the changes in the environment. Yes, true. Okay, now if you see, body to adjust to the changes in environment or maintain the position of various body parts, you are maintaining the body parts and none of the above. So what do you think? So this question is for you. Muscular movements are intended to 1 and 2 or none of these? So the answer over here, if you see, move the body to adjust change in environment. So move the body, yes, it is moving the body, and not only because of environmental changes, it can be because if you want to go to some place, you need to move or you need to go to further places, right? And maintain the position of various body parts. For not maintaining the position of various body parts, we are not trying to maintain any position of the body parts inside the body parts. Okay, so here the answer is going to be the first one. Now going to the next question. Which of the following is a typical skeletal muscle? Biceps, triceps, both 1 and 2, and none of these. So skeletal muscles are the muscles which are joining the bones, right? So here if you see, the biceps are present on the upper side, okay, outer side, and the below, okay, dorsal side have triceps. So these biceps and triceps both are attached to the bones. That is the reason they are causing movements like this movement, and this movement is done by biceps and triceps. And these biceps and triceps are voluntary muscles, they are skeletal muscles which are under our control. So both 1 and 2. Okay. Now coming to the next question. Assertion. Non-striated muscles are said to be voluntary in nature. Non-striated muscles are voluntary in nature is a very wrong statement, because non-striation is seen in smooth muscles and smooth muscles are involuntary in nature. So this is a false statement. Now reason, non-striated muscles can be moved according to will. The non-striated muscles cannot be moved according to will. That is striated muscles which can be moved according to will, because striated muscles are the one which are voluntary. So here this is also a false statement. So both assertion and reason are false. Hope you have attempted this question. Now coming to the next question. Intercalated disc is present in cardiac muscles, provide, as we have discussed earlier also, it is a communication junction, okay, so that impulse can travel faster. Okay. Now coming to, which of the following cells are found in neural tissue? Neural tissue consists of both neurons and neuroglia. Okay, so neuroglia makes half of the cells, and which is supporting, providing nutrition and keeping the structure of the neuron in place. So the both 1 and 2 is going to be your answer. Now coming to the next question. Which is the function of neuroglia? What is the function of neuroglia? We have discussed earlier also, it protects and it supports, act as intercellular matrix, or none of these. It is basically protecting and supporting. It is not an intercellular matrix, it is present outside the neuron tissue. Okay, so here the answer is going to be the first one, protect and support the neurons. The electrical disturbance generated in neuron travel through neuroglial cells, plasma membrane, cytoplasm. The electrical disturbance generated in neurons travels through neuroglial cells, okay, not from cytoplasm. The electrical disturbance generated in neurons travels through the cytoplasm and the plasma membrane. Over here it is present. Okay, so here we have to answer the plasma membrane. Why? Because the electrical impulse are present, or sorry, the protons are present on the proton channels are present, sodium proton or potassium proton channels, or chlorine protein channels are present on the plasma membrane. So the electrical disturbance are generated in neuron are present on the travels on the plasma membrane. About this we are going to learn in our further classes in detailed manner. Now coming to the what kind of action can be caused by neurons? Stimulatory, inhibitory, 1 and 2, or excitatory. If you see, the neurons cause excitatory function, right? They get excited with the help of stimulus and they travel the stimulus to the brain. So the action of the neurons are excitatory, not stimulatory or inhibitory. Okay, so the answer is going to be the fourth one over here. Okay, so we have discussed So we have discussed about questions about animal tissue completed. We have completed about animal tissue, that is connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Now we are going to learn about immunity. Okay, immunity. What is immunity? Let us have an introduction class about immunity. Immunity is a defense system of the body. Now what is defense system? You must have heard about defense, army throughout the country, right? Recently also we have learned about defense system, right? How? They are protecting our borders, Indian borders, okay, from encroachment of the enemy, right? They are protecting complete ocean, air and land area from encroachment of the, yeah, terrorism, or you can say from the foreign countries, right? This is how the defense system works. Likewise, immunity, it is our body system, defense system, which protects from various kinds of infections like bacterial infections, viral infections, protozoal infections, helminth infections, and like helminth, which means worm infections. So this is called as immunity. We have a defense system. If we don't have immunity, what happens? The person collapses because of the bacterial infection. The bacterial infection won't be treatable. So our immunity is very important to protect our body structures, complete body. We can perform, we can be healthy because of immunity, right? So this is the defense system of the body. Basically, immunity is the defense system of the body. There are types of immunity. What does the defense system do? It protects from infectious diseases. Infectious diseases like bacteria, virus, helminth, protozoal, etc. So any foreign substance that is entering the body is protecting, the defense system is protecting from those foreign substances. Okay, so this is called as immunity, which is defense system of the body, which is protecting us against various kinds of infection. If we have an infection, bacterial infection, the person falls sick, okay, he is not able to eat properly, he is not able to do his daily activities, he is bedridden, he likes to have water intake, okay, he will be having fever, body aches. So after some time, after 2 to 3 days, the person recovers and he becomes back to healthy. So this recovery, 2 to 3 days, what happened in these 2 to 3 days? Our body has stopped the growth of the disease or infection in our body. It has protected, it has stopped the growth by killing those pathogens, by preventing the multiplication of those pathogens, by growth of the pathogens. Those pathogens can be anything. These minute substance, bacteria that are present everywhere. They are present in the air, they are present in the land, they are present in the water. Okay, and this is how our immunity is working against these infectious microbes. Certain microbes are very less, they don't cause certain symptoms, but certain microbes are very pathogenic, very infectious in nature, which can cause major diseases. So our immunity protects from those deadly infectious disease. Now let us see the types of immunity. We have two types of immunity: acquired immunity, okay, this we don't have at the time of the birth, okay, we acquire slowly, naturally, or sometimes artificially also. Innate, this immunity which is present from the birth, okay, which is protecting from various kinds of infection or various kinds of foreign substances, that is called as innate immunity. This acquired immunity can be active, can be passive. Okay, so about active and passive acquired immunity we are going to learn in our next session. In this session we are going to focus on innate immunity. As I have told you, they are present, this type of immunity, at the time of birth. So this is called as innate immunity. The immunity which is present at the time of birth is called as innate immunity. Now let us move to the next. Now we are going to learn about innate immunity in detail. This acts as a barrier. This innate immunity acts as a barrier for entering of the primary immunity. This is a very primary basic immunity that is present in all the organisms, and they prevent the entry of the foreign substance into the internal structures. Okay, so this is what innate immunity is. Now coming to innate immunity, there are further types, they are further classified. Physical or barrier immunity. So when we learn about physical, this is the first type that we are going to learn, physical or barrier type of innate immunity. So what is physical or barrier? There are skin, like skin. Skin, what it does do? Okay, skin, the role of the skin is to prevent the entry of the bacteria inside the flesh or inside the muscular tissue or connective tissue. Okay, so this skin is having stratum corneum or the outermost cell. Okay, skin is made up of epithelial tissue, right? Stratified epithelial tissue, and the outermost epithelium is cornified. That is the reason they are dead cells, keratinized. They are dead cells, which means the dead cells is not the ideal surface for bacterial growth. Okay, so skin is physical barrier. Similarly, we have mucous membrane. Inner lining of the body cavities or inner lining of the organs are also made up of squamous epithelium, which doesn't allow the passage of the bacteria. Now coming to the secretory form of innate immunity, the second form. It secretes certain secretions that cause the killing or the phagocytosis of the bacteria or foreign substances. Okay, certain structures are also present like cilia, or secretions can also be present like mucus secretion. Okay, so mucus secretion in the respiratory, mucous epithelium is present in the lining of the respiratory canal. Okay, respiratory canals, and they are also present on the gut. Okay, what does it do? It secretes mucus which phagocytize, which cause immobility of the foreign substance. And what about cilia? They propel the foreign substance towards the outer environment. Okay, so secretions can be tears. Tears consist of, eyes consist of tears, right? These tears have lysosome enzymes, which phagocytize the foreign substance that is entering the body. So tears, mucus, and we have gastric juices, right? Mucus, tears, gastric juices. The gastric juices have acidic pH. They have acidic pH. Okay, so certain organisms which cannot tolerate acidic environment, they will die. So gastric juices consist of hydrochloric acid. Okay, this hydrochloric acid kills the foreign particles that are entering the body via oral cavity. Okay, so we have gastric juices, we have tears, mucus secretions. Okay, so these are all secretory. Now we are having cellular defense. So secretory, physiological defense, this is also called as physiological defense. And the third one here we are discussing is cellular defense. So what about cellular defense? So first we have learnt about physical. Physical consists of skin. Okay, mucous membrane. Skin prevents the entry of the bacteria or viral particles inside the structures. Physiological, we have secretion. Some secretions are preventing the bacterial growth. or they are killing the bacteria like gastric juices, mucus, tears. Okay, tears consist of enzymes which break down the lysosome enzyme which break down the bacterial structures. Right? Now we are learning about cellular, which is very important. Cellular innate immunity. The cells which are responsible for immunity are macrophages, that you have learnt. Okay? Cellular immunity. These cells are macrophages, neutrophils. So neutrophils, the specific term is used PMNL, polymorph, which means they have different structures. Neutrophils, nuclear, polymorph, nuclear leukocyte. Okay, this is the type of neutrophils, polymorph. The nucleus have multiple structures. The structure changes. Okay, now macrophages, neutrophils, monocytes. Okay, so these causes basically phagocytosis. They cause phagocytosis. Now these are phagocytic in nature. Okay, macrophages, monocytes or neutrophils. What do you understand by phagocytosis? And there is another term. This is phagocytosis, and another types of cell, lytic cell, which is present, that is natural killer cell, NK cell. We will learn the function of phagocytotic cells, that is macrophage, neutrophils, monocyte, what they do. We will go to learn about lytic cell, that is natural killer cells too. Okay, so these are cellular immunity. Now let us see how they kill. Phagocytosis. Phagocytosis, which means they engulf macrophages. Macrophages are present in the tissue. In the blood they have neutrophils. Blood consists of neutrophils and monocytes, whereas the tissue consists of macrophages. So whenever the bacteria or viral particles that are entering through tissue, the macrophages are the one which are going to deal. Okay, now what about in blood? If they are entering via blood, the cells that are going to handle are neutrophils, polymorph nucleoleucocytes. Okay, polymorph nucleoleucocytes are the one which are going to handle. Okay, and monocytes are the one which are going to handle those bacteria or virus. Okay, how? By killing them, by engulfing the bacterial particle or viral particle. For suppose if I take a bacteria, okay, or if I take an example of amoeba or protozoa. Okay, so here I am taking the example of paramecium. Okay, this is a infectious causing agent, paramecium. Now what happens, or euglemia, you can take any example. Okay, when they enter the body, we have much larger cells. These cells are macrophage. They are granular cells, non-granular cells. Okay, macrophages are non-granular, but neutrophils are granular. About granular and non-granular we are going to learn in circulatory system. Here macrophages are very much larger than the bacteria or protozoa or virus. Okay, what they do, they engulf. They are very small, tiny structure. Okay, they engulf. How they engulf? By forming a pseudopodia. Okay, they come close to the bacteria or viral particle, they form pseudopodia and they form a food vacuole. Okay, and here the lysosome vacuole, and they consist of lysosomes. Okay, these lysosomes consist of hydrolytic enzymes. These hydrolytic enzymes bind with the vacuole and they kill the bacteria. So this is seen in amoeba also, right? How the food is captured by the amoeba and how the lysosomes are breaking down the food material and they are getting the energy. Similarly, Macrophages also engulf and they break down the foreign substance that macrophages have engulfed. So this is the function of phagocytosis, by engulfing and by killing it. Okay, so this is done by macrophages, this is done by neutrophils and mast cells. You have to remember an important question: neutrophil and mast cells are present in the blood, whereas the macrophages are found in the tissue. Okay, they are present in the connective tissue, and the mast cells are also present, okay, in the connective tissue. Neutrophils or monocytes are present in the blood. Now, so this is the function of the phagocytosis cells. Now let us see the function of NK cells or natural killer cells. NK cells. The function of the NK cells is different. They secrete certain substances, certain enzymes. In your material, the enzyme porphyrin is given. Okay, there are other enzymes also. What does NK cell do? It secretes enzymes when it comes in contact with the viral particles or bacterial particles. What happens? These NK cells secrete enzymes. These enzymes can be porphyrin. Okay, these enzymes bind with the bacteria or virus, and okay, if suppose this is the bacteria, they bind with the membrane of the bacteria. Okay, the membrane is made up of proteins and lipids, right? Basically it is a bilipid layer between which consists of proteins. So wherever the proteins or porphyrin, it increases the pores, the membrane pores, membrane becomes very porous. Okay, when the membrane becomes porous, water enters these cells. Okay, and these cells swell. What happens to the cells? Bacteria cells, they swell and they burst. So basically NK cell is not engulfing the bacteria, it is secreting certain chemicals. This is porphyrin. This porphyrin binds with the plasma membrane, and in plasma membrane they bring changes. What are the changes? They increase the size of the pores. Certain times these enzymes break down the proteins also. As a result, the cell membrane have large pores. Now the small pore is enlarged. What happens? The water rushes inside the bacterial cells. As a result, slowly the bacterial cells swells, and after some time, after some threshold, it bursts. So it causes lysis, breakdown, lysis of the cells. The natural killer cells, what it does do? It causes breakdown of the bacterial cell. So this is the function of natural killer cells. Now we have learned about the functions of macrophages. Macrophages, how they do, what they do? They do phagocytosis. Monocytes also do phagocytosis. Neutrophils also do phagocytosis. But natural killer cells secrete certain enzymes. For example, in your material, the example is porphyrin. Porphyrin attaches to the plasma membrane. It increases the size of the pores of the bacterial cell. As a result, fluid gushes into the cell and the cell expands. When the cell expands, the plasma membrane lose its extensibility. As a result, it bursts, and all the components of the bacterial cell will come outside, like nucleus, nucleolus legion, okay, certain mesosomes, all will come outside and it will be not living anymore. Okay, so this is the how the NK cell perform the function. Now we have learned about innate immunity. We have physical barrier, we have secretory form, that is physiological barrier, and we have learned about cellular defense. There is another type of innate immunity, that is cytological. Okay, let us learn about that. That is cytological immunity. This type of immunity specifically is seen in viral infection. And what are the interferons? Interferons are the one which prevent viral infection. Let us see how it happens. if this is a viral particle, okay, if this viral particle is attacking a normal healthy cell, okay, is attacking the normal healthy cell. So let me move. What happens? It is attached. So this cell is, the normal cell is viral infected cell. This is a human, our body cells, and this is a viral cells, okay. So viral infected cells secrete certain secretions. They secrete certain secretions. They form certain components. Whenever the virus is attacking the mechanism of the normal cells, they secrete certain substances. These substances are called as interferons. They are called as interferons. Okay, these interferons are attached to other normal cells that are present surrounding this infected viral cells. So this is infected viral cell, they secrete interferons. These interferons go and bind with the normal cells. As a result, what happens? Two changes happens in the normal cells. The normal cells will secrete certain substances that kill the virus, or they change structural configuration. They change the structure of the plasma membrane so that this virus is not able to attack them. They become antiviral. So what happened in these cells? These interferons bind with the normal healthy cells and they change the structural protein structure of the changed, okay, or they secrete some antiviral substances that can kill the virus, or they change the structure so that the virus cannot bind with the healthy cells. So this is a different kind of immunity, cytological immunity. This immunity is brought by interferons. Okay, so here in the viral infection, what happens? The virus is attacking the healthy cells, and these healthy cells are secreting the interferons, and these interferons are binding with the healthy cells, other healthy cells, and they are causing certain changes in the cell. They are stopping the translation process. Translation is a process from which RNA is converted into the protein. So basically, they are stopping the translation process. Okay, so these interferons are stopping the translation process in the healthy cells, as well as they are protected. The structural changes are protecting from the virus. So the virus growth is stopped. How the virus is growing? The virus is generally a non-living thing, substance outside the host. When it is inside the host, it has its living mechanism. It cannot replicate its DNA. So what it does, it transfers its DNA or RNA into the host cells and then it multiplies. To prevent that kind of multiplication, our body cells which are infected from the virus, they secrete interferons, and these interferons bind with the neighboring host cells, and these host cell structure changes and they produce certain substance that they can kill the virus. So this is a very important discovery, and the interferons for each virus, different virus species will be different. If it is the AIDS virus, the interferons that are formed over here will be different. If it is the influenza virus, the interferons formed over here will be different. If it is a smallpox, the interferons that are formed will be different. The interferons will be different for the different species. Okay, so this is how the interferons are given to the virus infected persons so that the person can recover sooner. Okay, so these interferons are basically, what are these interferons? Interferons are amino acids. The protein structure, it consists of 270 amino acids. It is a protein which is made up of 270 amino acids, and it has different interferon structure for different viral particle. So interferons are basically for virus. So this interferon 7, it is given to the AIDS patient. AIDS patient have weakened immunity, okay, and they are very much susceptible to cancer. Which type of cancer? Kaposi sarcoma. Kaposi sarcoma. Sarcoma, which means a carcinoma, which is a mesoepithelium cancer. Sarcoma is a cancer of endothelium, blood endothelium, the endothelium of the blood, okay, which is the inner structure. Endothelium of the blood is forming tumor, abnormal tumor, cancer, which prevents the flow of the blood, right? This sarcoma, Kaposi sarcoma, is prevented in AIDS patient by giving artificial interferons 7 to the patient. So the case of Kaposi sarcoma in AIDS patient has been reduced because of injection of interferons. Okay, so what is Kaposi sarcoma? It is a cancer, it is a tumor of endothelium of the blood vessels, as a result which blocks the flow of the blood. The AIDS patients already have lower immunity. As a result, this Kaposi sarcoma is caused by human herpes virus. Human herpes virus 7. Okay, human herpes virus 7 is the one which causes Kaposi sarcoma. Okay, in AIDS, what happens? The immunity defense system is weak, right? So these viruses can thrive, can grow very fast. Okay, these viruses, if are infecting the HIV/AIDS patient, they turn this endothelium into cancerous tissue. This condition is called as Kaposi sarcoma. Okay, this cancerous tissue blocks the blood flow to various vital organs, and ultimately it causes death. To prevent that, interferons are given, artificially synthesized interferons through genetic engineering is given to those patients. Okay, so we have learned about innate immunity in detail. In our next class, we are going to learn about acquired immunity, and we are going to learn about active and passive immunity, as well as we are going to learn about antibody. Okay, so these are the 4 topics that we are going to cover: active immunity and passive immunity, difference between active and passive, and we are going to learn about structure of antibodies. So before that, before learning about, just revise the various types of immunity that I have explained. Innate immunity we have discussed about innate immunity. This is present by birth, and these are of 4 types: physical barrier, or physiological, cellular, or cytological. So understand these terminologies very clearly. I have explained all the content that is present in the CBC part. In advance, we are going to learn when you are going to have classroom classes. Okay, so thank you so much. And I am botany faculty Dr. Vaishnavi, have explained about innate immunity. Thank you.